Hey guys, welcome to today's first video. I have another video going up 2 hours from when this video is uploaded, talking about yesterday's leaked Halo Wars 2 pictures, but for now, we're talking about the 4 most likely factions and most likely heroes in Halo Wars 2. Now, before I start, it's worth pointing out that the first 2 factions I'm going to talk about have sub-factions, so like a faction within a faction. It's nothing too major, super simple to understand, and you'll understand it as soon as I start talking about it. So, don't forget to leave a like down below. Done that? Awesome. Let's get started. Right, so the first faction is the most obvious faction, and if it's not in Halo Wars 2, then I will eat cardboard on a stream. This faction is the UNSC, and the first sub-faction within the UNSC is the Spirit of Fire. Now, for the Spirit of Fire, one of the 2 heroes that you'll have is Cutter. Now, Cutter will play a lot similar to Halo Wars 1, and will focus mainly on infantry such as ODSTs and Marines. I think Cutter is a very likely choice, seeing that he's still alive on the Spirit of Fire, and is still the Spirit of Fire's captain. So it's pretty damn hard imagining Halo Wars 2 without Captain Cutter being a hero. Next up is Anders, and again she'll be very similar to Halo Wars 1, will focus mainly on air units with hopefully, fingers crossed, the Hawk returning. And again, very similar to Captain Cutter, she's still on the Spirit of Fire, so it's very likely that she'll show up as a leader. Next up is the second sub-faction within the UNSC, and this is the UNSC Infinity. Now, the hero for the Infinity would, of course, be Captain Lasky, and I can definitely see this happening if Halo Wars 2 does happen to be set after Halo 5, like a lot of the evidence is suggesting at the moment. Lasky and the Infinity at the end of Halo 5 are making random slipspace jumps, and I really wouldn't put it far out of the reaches of reality for them to just, in air quotes, stumble upon the Spirit of Fire. The Infinity will have pretty much all of the new technology that we see from Halo 4 onwards, including Spartan 4s, Mantises, and maybe even Infinity's Mac Cannon. Now, the second faction is yet again an incredibly obvious faction, one that's so obvious that if it doesn't appear in Halo Wars 2, I will eat cardboard on a stream. And this faction is the Covenant. Now, I've split the Covenant into 2 sub-factions, the first one being the Evil Covenant, and the first hero for the Evil Covenant is the Brute Chieftain, of course. Now, this is an incredibly obvious contender. He would be a playable hero, much like the Chieftain in Halo Wars 1, but not like the UNSC heroes. He would, of course, adorn his plasma mace that you can see in all the trailers, and an upgrade to him would have his bodyguards defend him. His units would, as you can guess, be mainly brutes, and he'd also have all of the new brute vehicles that we've seen in the leaked cover art. The second hero for this sub-faction would be a Prophet. Now, I'm not sure what Prophet yet, likely one that we haven't heard of, but I think it's pretty likely. Now, this Prophet could be the orchestrator and leader of the Brute faction, or could be the leader of a completely different Covenant faction entirely. This hero would specify more on general Covenant units, like a few Brutes, Elites, Hunters, Jackals, Grunts, and maybe even more species like the Drones too. Again, he would be a playable hero, much like the Prophet in Halo Wars 1, and would have the Cleansing Beam, with some differences of course. Differences I haven't thought of yet. The second Covenant sub-faction would be the Allied Covenant, but more specifically the Swords of Sanghelios. Now, the hero for the Swords of Sanghelios would either be Artas Badum or Thel 'Vadam. It could be either, but seeing as the Halo 5 credits lead us to believe that Halo 6 will begin on Sanghelios, I'd hazard a guess that Artas is more likely, seeing as that's where Thel currently is. Also, seeing as he's a shipmaster, it would make more sense for him to command the Swords of Sanghelios' ships to follow and aid the Infinity. That, and it'd be a badass way to reintroduce him into the series. They'd focus mainly on elites with Sangheli-specific technology, and of course, Artas or Thel, whoever it is, would be a playable character too. Okay, so now we're heading into sort of uncharted territory when it comes to looking at factions. The next faction is the Prometheans. Now, these guys are like 343's babies. 343 created them, and they pretty much want them in every single game they make, and it does make sense for them to be in Halo Wars 2, if it takes place during the creator's story arc, which it's looking like it's going to. So the first Promethean hero would be the Warden Eternal. Now, as the game is likely going to be set post Halo 5, having the Warden as a Promethean hero just makes sense. He'd be a playable hero, much like the Covenant ones, and would command an army of Prometheans, which is exactly what you'd expect from him. His units would be standard Promethean units, such as soldiers, knights, crawlers, watchers, etc., with of course new units and vehicles too. Now, the next Promethean hero would be Cortana. Now, Cortana is a very tough one. I can definitely see her, of course, not being a playable character. She'd probably have units varying from Prometheans to some Covenant using new Promethean weapons, grunts especially, as some of the Covenant species are already starting to ally with her. She could also maybe have an Uber unit similar to the Scarab that's a Guardian. It's not actually on the map, it's above the map and you can't see it, but it lets out a massive EMP that covers the map for a very short amount of time, making vehicles and weapons not work. Of course, this wouldn't affect every single vehicle and weapon on the map, only a select number, because that would be incredibly overpowered if it did. But, you know, this is just speculation. I'm not really counting for any balance in this. I'm just sort of putting ideas forward. And finally, we have the Didact. Now, again, this is a very tough one. I honestly don't think it's very likely at all, but I thought I'd include it just on the off chance that it did happen. Then I could say, with very good reason, I told you so. Now, the reason I think this is a slight possibility is because of something that Brian Reed brought up in the new library edition of Halo Escalation. He basically said that the Didact is not gone and at some point will return. But I already kind of guessed this, seeing as he wasn't exactly killed in Escalation, he was just composed. I don't exactly know how the Didact would differ from the Warden. Maybe he'd have living foreigners fighting alongside of him. I don't know, it's certainly an interesting thought though. And the final playable faction that I hope to see in Halo Wars 2 is the Flood. Being originally cut as a playable faction from Halo Wars 1, along with the infection form seen on the Spirit of Fire during Escalation, I'd be very surprised if the Flood aren't a playable faction. Now, I was talking to Halo Cannon about this, and he actually came up with a very good idea for how the Flood would work gameplay wise. So basically, they wouldn't have a central base like every other faction, but instead, they'd start off as a proto-Gravemind. Instead of paying resources to advance through the tech levels, the Flood do so by killing enemies, building structures, and building bigger, which therefore causes the proto-Gravemind to evolve into a Gravemind, and then into a Keymind, and then so on through all the stages of the Flood. I personally think that's an awesome idea. It would make the Flood a lot more unique in a gameplay sense, and it would also fit them really well from a lore point of view. Right, let's move on to the heroes. The first one would be the Gravemind. Now this is the obvious pick, seeing as canonically it's the commander of the local Flood infestation. It only makes sense. For the Flood to actually be a significant threat, it has to have formed a Gravemind, whether it be on the Ark or on the Spirit of Fire. Either way, a Gravemind pretty much has to be present for the Flood to be significantly lethal. I like the idea of not having the Gravemind as a playable character per se, but maybe having special abilities. For example, you can summon its tentacles on the map to do a massive area of effect damage, or have it scream like it used to in Halo 3, stunning or slowing down the enemies. I think things like this would really mix up the gameplay and make it interesting. Next up, we have Mendicant Bias. Now this is a very interesting one. The Flood will be in Halo Wars 2. We're going back to the Ark in Halo Wars 2. All is set up almost perfectly for the introduction of this mysterious character, and having him be a hero to lead the Flood into battle is almost perfect. However, one thing hinders this. At the end of Halo 3, he expresses his regret for his past actions, and wishes to try and make up for what he's done in any way possible. He does so by helping Chief and Arbiter make it to the Dawn safely. Now, why would he be a Flood hero if he was trying to make up for his betrayals and poor choices only a few years ago? It honestly doesn't make sense, and I have no idea. I just think Halo Wars 2 has the perfect setting to finally introduce him. And the final hero for the Flood is... I have no clue. I could not come to a conclusion for a third hero for the Flood. So, I want you guys in the comments down below to tell me a third hero that you'd like to see for a Flood faction. I honestly don't think there are any more named Flood or Flood related characters, but just let me know if there's anything you'd like to see as a Flood hero in the comments down below. That sums up this video. Don't forget, in about 2 hours from the time this video goes live, I'll have a breakdown of yesterday's leaked Halo Wars 2 pictures up on my channel. Yes, that means 2 videos in one day. Look forward to it, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in 2 hours.